Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Good Shabbos. We're told on Shabbat that we have something called a neshama yetera, or a neshama yetera, depending on your Ashkenazi pronunciation or not, an extra soul. So as we welcome you to Shabbat, we just sang the nigun for Shalom Aleichem. We say, we wish you peace, attending angels. We wish that it be a happy and healthy Shabbat for all of us as we prepare ourselves for Shabbat, as we get ready to get rid of the week and enter into this 25 hours. I may point that out, the last 25-hour period of Shabbat before the high holidays. Yikes.
I'm good.
You're good? I'm good too. Good. So I'm going to ask you if you're able to please rise as we're going to light the candles. I'm going to call up Judy, if you don't mind. Karen, you want to come up too? And anybody else that wants to come up? Adriana? Anybody else? Carol? Anybody? No? No? Not? Okay. You can say no. That's fine.
Stubborn. Yeah, there we go. Better you than me, sweetheart. I have better luck than I do. Come on, good. There we go. Okay, girl. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
May it be a happy, healthy, peaceful Shabbat for us, all our friends, and our loved ones. Amen.
Amen.
You may be seated as we turn to page 15 in the Sim Shaloms for the beginning of Kabbalat Shabbat, Psalm 95, L'chu Niranana.
L'chu Niranana Adonai Nariya Ishaynu Nekadma fanav etodav Bizmirat nari Allah Ki el gadol Adonai malchon al kol Elohim. Shana יבואון אל מנוחתי. שירו לאדוני שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני.
We're on page 16.
עוד והדר לפניו עוז ותפארת. ישמחו השמיים ותגל הארץ, ירמה ימום לו, יעלוס שדי וכל אשר בו. לפני אדוני קיווה לשפוט הארץ, ישפוט אבל וצדק וימים באמונתו.
We turn to page 20 for Psalm 29, a song for David, Mizmor LeDavid. We're on the bottom of page 20 in the Sim Shalom for Anna Bekoach.
תתיר את צרורה, קבל רידת עמך סגרנו, תרינו נורא. נגיבו לדורשי חותך, כבבת שכם, ברכם תרם, רחמם צדקתך. נהל עדתך, יחיד כאל למען חבר, זוכרי קדושתך, שבתנו תבר, ושנות צדקתנו יודע תעלומה.
Come, my beloved, with chorus of praise. Welcome Shabbat, the bride, queen of our days. This is the refrain of the Lecha Dodi as we welcome Shabbat upon us, as we welcome Shabbat in the rest that it represents. The last paragraph of Lecha Dodi is, I don't think I'm unique in this, but my favorite one, where it says, Bo'i Kala, come in peace, soulmate, so sweet, bride, so adored. We sanctify a lot of things in Judaism. We make a lot of things holy. We make a glass of Menashevitz, which, we make that holy by Kiddush. We make relationships holy by Kiddushin, and we make time holy. Something as untouchable and important as time, we sanctify it. Next week, this room will be full as we'll celebrate the passing of another year. Many of us will be in a reflective place. But we have that opportunity with Shabbat every week to think about our week, to think about how it's gone well, how it's gone maybe not so well, and to let it go and bring Shabbat in and to mark that time as our rest. So we're on page 22 for Lecha Dodi.
לתת בעלה בשמחה ובצונה, תוך אמוני על סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
You may be seated. We are on page 23, a special psalm for Shabbat, Psalm 92. There you are. Yeah, it's not the same. No. It's nice to be Shevet Achim Gam Yachad, not Shevet Achim with a couple people on the bima. Shabbat Shalom. Rabbi Shimon Omer, Shlosha Ktarim Heim, Keter Torah v'Keter Kahuna v'Keter Malchut v'Keter Shem Tov Ole Ala Gabehem. Rabbi Shimon said there are 3 crowns: the crown of the Torah, the crown of priesthood, the crown of royalty. Those are the 3 we can acquire by birth or by action. But, he said, the crown of a good name supersedes them all. It's from Pirkei Avot. Crown of a good name. So, does that mean that if we have to have a good name, then we're so preoccupied by what people think that we have to do what's right, not because it's right, but because we're thinking about our own keter, our own name, right? People who, and maybe you know these people, maybe you are familiar with this kind of person who does the right thing not because they want to, but because they think it's right, which is a legitimate reason to do it. But then, what happens? If somebody does something just because they think it's right, because they're supposed to, because of what other people think, then they expect that of other people. They expect other people to be perfect and to do what's right all the time. I was having a conversation just last week with one of our upcoming B'nai Mitzvah children, and I was saying that I've always loved complicated heroes, right? When I read comics as a young kid, there was one comic book character that I found incredibly boring. Does anybody know who that might have been? So I know one of you knows who it was because it was a conversation. Superman. I found Superman incredibly boring. Why? Because he was perfect. Because he was truth, justice, and the American way, and not one hair out of place. And then there were heroes like Spider-Man or Bruce Wayne. Sorry, that's the real Batman. That's his name. Didn't mean to ruin his identity, right? Peter Parker as Spider-Man, Bruce Wayne as Batman. They were flawed. They were dark. They had problems. They had issues. The most interesting characters we know of, the most interesting heroes aren't perfect. They're people who are just like you and I in that they have flaws. And they overcome them. They're able to transcend their shortcomings. And there's no better indication of this than the guy we read about this week. By the way, we've been reading about him for a while now. His name is Moshe. And he is incredibly flawed. He says this week to the people, he says, yet again, anger and passion will rage against you until every sanction recording in this book comes down upon you and God blots out your name forever. Thanks, guy. Very cheery. And it's interesting that he talks about anger and passion because that's who Moshe is. Moshe is a passionate, fiery person, right? And at this point in the Torah, he's done. He's had enough. Personally, I think his breaking point came a little before this in the last book we read in Bamidbar, in Numbers. I want you to picture something. I want you to picture yourself, you're in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by sheep and a desert sky. And that's your life. For years and years, some people say up to 40 years, that's your life. And then one day, you're walking on your own way, and you see this bush, and it's burning, and it's not consumed. And you get called to do this job that you don't want to do, but you do it anyway. And every time you do it, the Jewish people kvetch and moan and are stiff-necked people, and you have to drag them, sometimes literally kicking and screaming, through the desert. And you can take the slings and arrows that they throw at you, and then your brother and your sister start doing it. Then your brother and your sister gossip about you. And you've reached your breaking point, and you hit a rock, not once but twice, out of anger, and call the children of Israel, you rebellious children. Moshe is done. He's done with a job that he did phenomenally well, a job he didn't want to do, and he was suited for it actually because of his shortcomings. He says when God chooses Moshe, Moshe says, "Don't choose me." Right? Have you ever heard that Moshe had a speech impediment? Raise your hand if you've heard that. I don't think it's a speech impediment. The word used in the Torah to describe the way Moshe speaks is, he says, "Ani aral svatayim." Literally, an aral is a foreskin. I have uncircumcised lips. So the rabbis say, oh, that's a stutter. No, it's not. An aral, we see in this week's Parsha, we see that you should circumcise your heart. Umal et levavecha. You should circumcise your heart, that we have uncircumcised hearts, that keeps us from making a connection with God. So this idea of the aral, of the uncircumcised, is not a stutter. It's something that prevents us from having a connection. And what is Moshe's one dominant character trait? One that he doesn't want to, he says, not just should I not do this job, I don't want to go speak to whom? Pharaoh. I can't go speak to Pharaoh because I have this thing that stops me. Now, what is the worst thing you can do if you're talking to a Pharaoh? You can lose your cool, and then it's curtains. Moshe doesn't have a stutter. Moshe doesn't have uncircumcised lips in some speech impediment. Moshe's speech impediment is his anger. What's the first thing we see Moshe do when we're introduced to him? He runs away as a result. He's killed somebody. Why does Moshe not go to the Holy Land? Because he hits a rock. What does Moshe do when the children of Israel have done the golden calf? He breaks the tablets. His defining characteristic is his anger and his passion. And it's that same flaw that when God says, I'm going to destroy the Jewish people because of the golden calf, Moshe says, no, you're not. Moshe says, if you do this, erase my name from your book. There are three crowns. The crown of heaven, the crown of Torah, the crown of the priesthood, and the crown of kingship. But a good name supersedes them all. Moshe has a good name not because he wasn't flawed, but precisely because he was. Because he had moments in his life that he was able to transcend his flaws. Tomorrow night, we start the process of slichot. We officially start the time of tshuva if we haven't started already. It's not a time to try to be without flaw. It's not a time to say we need to be perfect because we can't be. And even our Torah shows us we don't have to be. We just have to be able to transcend our flaws every once in a while. And that's what Moshe teaches us. That we can use those things that sometimes hold us back from making a connection. They can be of use to us, but we have to get to know them. We have to transcend our flaws so that we can make a connection with other people. So my hope for all of us in this 25 hours of Shabbat, and then as we go forward into Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, is that we're able to look at ourselves, not through the lens of perfection, but the lens of taking our flaws and just making them, transcending them a little bit. And that way, we too can be superheroes. Shabbat Shalom. She started. I know, I liked it. That was good. Please rise if you're able as we have the formal call to prayer, the Baruch Hu, on page 28.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai Mevorach Leolam Vaed. Baruch
be seated.
Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. ומעביר יום ומעביר לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו. אל חי וקיים תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני המעריב הרבים.
We're on the top of page 29.
Let's sing together. אהבת עולם בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, עמך אהבת. תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו ושוכרנו ובקומנו לשיח בחוקיך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד, כי הם חיינו לאורך ימינו, ובהם נגה יומה ולילה, נגה יומה ולילה. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. בים שמות.
Vayomer Adonai el Moshe lemor daber el bnei Yisrael v'amarta alehem v'asu lahem tzitzit al kanfei vigdehem l'dorotam v'nadnu al tzitzit hakanaf betil techelet v'haya lachem l'tzitzit uritem oto Uzechartem et kol mitzvot Adonai v'asitem otam v'lo taturu acharei levavchem v'acharei enechem asher etem zonim achareihem leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'hitem kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem Asher hotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim lihiyot lachem le'elohim ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohechem Emet.
Let's join together in the middle of page 32 with Mi Chamocha. Mi Chamocha ba'eim Adonai Mi Chamocha nehedar l'kodesh Lo לתהילות אוסף ולנורש תהילות אוסף Mi Chamocha ba'eim Adonai Mi Chamocha nehedar l'kodesh Adonai imloch leolam vaed v'ne'emar ki chazak Adonai et Yaakov ug'e'alo miyad chazak mimenu baruch ata Adonai al Yisrael.
We're on the top of page 33 for Hashkivenu. Or Shalom,
ברוך אתה אדוני, הפורס סוכת שלום עלינו, ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ועל ירושלים.
Just taking it in, page 34.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם לברית עולם. אוי 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 בני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת וינפש.
Please rise for the Amidah, the silent standing prayer, which can be found on page 35A or B through page 38 in your Sim Shaloms. Please rise as we turn to page 51 for Aleinu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת תודה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשינו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל עמונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסף. על כן נקבל לך אדוני אלוהים התפארת הזאת, כי המלכות שלך היא ולעלמי תמלוך בכבוד, ככתוב בתורתך אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ויאמרו יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו
You may be seated. In our community this week, we commemorate the yahrzeits of General M. Becerri and Ethel Bortnick, of Hyman Brecker and Dan Chernobyl, of Judah Fox and Louis Graff, of Dorothy Gross and Joan Halpert, of Jerome Howard and Norma J. Goldberg Kaplan, of Don Kerman and Leo Klein, of Sharon Konakowitz and Lillian Gould Leading, of Pauline Maniloff and Anita Moldoff, of Sophie Rice Newman and Peter Nortman, of Kimberly Beth Orlin and Robert Postman, of Daisy Press Nemzer and Louis Silberberg, of Hinda Simmons and Joseph M. Spiegel, of Vigdor Teplitz and Barbara Weissenberg. May all of their memories be a blessing. All those who have a need or desire to say the Mourner's Kaddish, I'm going to ask you to please rise as we recite the Mourner's Kaddish together on page 52. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Be'alma divrach dirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'le'omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yital'ev v'yitalal shemei dekudesha brichu. La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. You may be seated.
So just to point out that tomorrow we have Slichot. At what
7:30.
time? 7:30. The rest of the announcements will come in our wall or announcements. In the meantime, if you can rise to conclude, I'm going to ask Martin to share with us the Rory Kra, which is one of the newest ways of conclude Shabbat, and I'm gonna walk down, Martin, just to. The words are Shavu ve'nuchu be'yom Shabbat. Rest and rejoice in your day. Shavu for Kiddush.
Shabbat Shalom. Come on up. Vayer vayivoker yom hashishi vayichulu hashamayim va'aretz v'chol tzva'am vayichal Elohim bayom hashvi melachto asher asa vayishpot bayom hashvi mikom melachto asher asa vayivarech Elohim et yom hashvi vayikadesh oto kivo shavat mikom melachto asher bara Elohim lasot. Sabri chaverai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon inchilanu zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila l'mikra'ei kodesh zecher liyitziat Mitzrayim kivanu v'acharta ve'otanu kidashta mikol amim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ava uvratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al netilas yadayim. Umayin. Ooh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.